Yo, yo, yo. Welcome to the Outside the Box podcast. This is the OTBP. Yes, the OTBP, the Outside the Box podcast. If you've never listened to us before, welcome. We'd like to welcome you with open arms. We don't have any food to give you except food for thought. How about that old dad pun there? Anyway, I am Jacques Slade. Want to welcome you all to the show. As always, want to let you guys know that I appreciate you listening. We appreciate you guys listening. The feedback we've been getting online, the questions that you submit us, people are responding to the podcast very well, and we're really excited about that. And we really love that you guys are giving us topics to talk about because you make this show so much better than we could do ourselves. Again, I'm Jacques Slade. You can find me at Cousteau all over the internets. But if we're going to be totally honest here, this show is not about me. I'm just the guy with the big head that stands in front of the crowd. But the crowd, the people that people come to listen to are the other two people on this podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome and introduce you to Nick Engvall and Tiffany Beers.
Hey, I'm Nick Engvall. You can find me all over the web at Nick Engvall, NickEngvall, or at Sneaker History, sneakerhistory.com. I basically just have been in sneakers for a long time, and luckily I became friends with Jacques and now friends with Tiffany, so I just get to hang out with cool people on the internet and learn all the time. But most importantly, Tiffany, let them know how they can find you.
I'm Tiffany Beers. You can find me on Instagram and YouTube at Tiffany Beers. And I've been in the sneaker world now, well, for a long time, but I worked at Nike for about 13 years, an innovator. And yeah, that's all I have today. I don't have anything new today to surprise you guys with. So
it doesn't have to be new. Like I can't jump on this podcast and be like, oh, I'm Jacques Slade and I'm an innovator. Like, I can't do that. Like, that's not something people will be like, Jacques, you make YouTube videos. You're not an innovator. You didn't like mechanically engineer a system that automatically laces a shoe for you. So, like, can you just pull back the innovator title just a little bit and maybe say pretender? Maybe about how about that, Jacques? Yeah, that's more appropriate. But we appreciate you, Tiffany. We appreciate you so much. Same goes for you, Nick. The history with the guys, you guys bring so much to the show. Literally, I am just the mouthpiece. I am the arm candy, for lack of a better word. That's it. But this show, we've got a very interesting show for you guys today, going through a range of topics from Photoshop to Adidas to some of your feedback and your tweets, so make sure you guys stick around to that. But we're going to kick the show off with a topic that has been plaguing the sneaker industry for years. It's a tough topic to talk about. And, you know, we don't talk about it enough in the community. There are certain things that happen when certain people wear shoes, and it's like a plague against your nose hairs. It's a tough thing to deal with. Now, there's certain ways to handle the sometimes pungent smell that comes from the shoes of our friends. But the people over at Panasonic, well, they have a solution, and it's called the shoe deodorizer. And they're advertising this. Funny thing, it's only going to be available in Japan, which I'm asking why. First of all, that's even a thing because people in America have funky feet as well. But it's called the Panasonic MS-DS100, which is a really long name for something that stops your shoes from being funky. But that's what it is. It goes on sale in Japan on September 20th, 2018. And I don't know how it works. Maybe there's fans. Maybe there's bleach. Is there baby powder in there? I don't know. Like,
yeah, there's bleach in there.
Is there bleach to kill the bacteria? Because from what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, Tiffany, which I am a lot, is funky shoes are called basically by funky shoes or funky feet or whatever you want to call it. It's caused by bacteria. So you need something that's going to kill the bacteria in the shoes. Is that correct?
Yeah. I'm not an expert in this department, but yeah, I think that's correct.
I figured that because you worked with shoes, like you have extensive knowledge in everything that has to deal with shoes. Well,
I mean, like you said, people don't like to talk about this. Like, I even did a video on stinky shoes, and everyone just denied, oh, I don't have stinky shoes. Like, bull crap, you do too.
Wow. Yeah, I had a college roommate, and he had the worst smelling feet I have ever smelled in my entire life. I don't look. He without sin shall cast the first stone. I'm not saying my feet smell like roses. However, I don't affect the entire dorm room, and I'll leave it at that. So, quick stats about this deodorizer. It's generates and exhales hydroxyl radicals and ion particles to dissolve and eliminate unpleasant odors. The process can take 5 hours or 7 hours, depending on one of the two modes you select, normal or long. I do feel like they could have been a bit more creative with those names. Normal takes 5 hours and long takes 7 hours. How about clean and deep clean, or defunkify and extra defunkify? I don't know. I'm just throwing those names out here. It runs on mobile battery in case there's no AC power outlet available. So I'm going to say that if my feet smelled bad and I had to plug a machine into the wall in order to fix that, I'm offended. But that's just me. Maybe that's just me, and that's how I take things. And so does anyone know what a hydroxyl radical or ion particles are and how they work?
I know the ion particle is like important in straightening your hair and on curling irons. Like they make sure, and like blow dryers, like the ions like are helpful somehow. But that's it. We need a chemist. We need a chemist in here.
Yeah.
There's some levels happening right here now. We're going from beauty, from funky feet to beauty, all in the same conversation. I'm excited about this. I like where this is going.
I mean, I
was going to ask, do you have funky feet? But I don't know if that's really an appropriate question, or if you ever had a challenge with your shoes smelling. What sort of steps did you take to rectify that? I know for me, I just put baby powder in my shoes. So
yeah, I mean, for me, it's either baby powder or I've done like dryer sheets. Like fabric softener dryer sheets, and just kind of let them sit. Like there's those little sneaker balls things that like you twist, and they kind of do the same thing where like they, you leave them in overnight or something, and it supposedly helps. I mean, I only have a handful of shoes that like are that bad, thankfully,
right.
Or at least a handful that I'm willing to admit to are that bad. So I haven't really tried a bunch of different things, but this kind of thing just seems like so. I mean, 5 or 7 hours just seems kind of ridiculous. But I would assume that the time frame was just not important, because they're probably just trying to build this so you can use it while you sleep, right? Like that's, hopefully you're sleeping more than 5 or 7 hours, and this is the product that takes care of that pair of shoes that you need to handle. So I don't know though.
I think it's probably designed for overnight use, right? Like if you're someone that has a lot of foot smell issues, like you would want to take care of it, right? Like some people sweat more than others, depends on the materials, you know. And if you only have 1 or 2 pairs of shoes, I have no idea how much this thing's going to cost. Like, this could become important, especially in a place like Japan where the living spaces are smaller. Yeah. There's more people condensed. So, like, trying to be practical, like, it kind of makes sense to me. But it's interesting because if you check out Panasonic's website on it, they also say the same high-performance, nano-size, electrostatic, atomized water particle called Nano X which is in this device to help get rid of the bacteria, also works to inhibit pollen. So, like, this Nano-X thing must be something pretty spectacular.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe this is so. This could be something that they use. Completely off topic, but something like air purifiers or something like that, where it's just constantly recycling air and taking everything that it possibly can that's harmful or bad or smelly out, and like using that Nano-X to kind of say, cool, we passed it through and now it's good, you can use it.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's just a mini air purifier that for shoes, actually. Like, I don't know, it's, from a tech side, it's kind of interesting. I think it's hilarious that they have a pair of high heels that they show in the marketing material for it. Like, because I've never had heels that smell. I mean, there's so much air going through there anyways. I don't know. Right.
Yeah, that is definitely interesting. And I guess the thing for me, like, the machine is big. It's not like something you stick into your shoe. It's like a gallon of milk. I wouldn't say a gallon of milk, but it's like a hand, like one of those old hand vacuums.
Yeah,
that's what it kind of reminds me of. It's like one of those old hand vacuums that you put inside your shoe, which is something else entirely. Quick, for all of you out there that are like, oh, I don't want to need to listen to this because I don't have funky feet. According to a survey Panasonic conducted with sneaker wearers, about 62% of those surveyed take some measure to remove shoe odors, but about half of them are not satisfied with deodorizing methods they use. So more than half of you actually have funky feet, and you won't admit to it here in the comment section, but we know the truth, and Panasonic knows the truth. And something else here, and this is for you science nerds or chemical nerds out there. It seems like the issue of funky feet is caused by isovaleric acid, which is produced by the sweat in our feet. So that's something I didn't know, and probably something else I'll use when I go on Jeopardy. So just putting that out there for you guys, so you all know what's going on. So well, apparently I won't be able to get the word right. Isovaleric acid. That's your thought of the day. Now you know. So we're learning here. It's all about knowledge. Knowledge is power. All right. So moving on from the shoe deodorizer. Again, those only drop in Japan. So if you do want one, I guess you'll have to import one from Japan. It's the Panasonic MS-DS100. I really want to know why they're only releasing them in Japan. That's actually kind of I'm really interested in seeing what they are. And they're only going to make 1,000 a year, so they're going to be limited. So slap a Supreme label on them, and then like they're really going to be hot items. Anyway, that's another topic entirely.
And that name, I mean, catchy name. I'm going to remember that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. MS-DS100 as opposed to shoe deodorizer, which I guess marketing must have been like, that name didn't test well. Let's go with MS-DS100. I think that rolls off the tongue a little better. It did better in the focus group.
I mean, your point about Supreme though, this is like the perfect kind of thing, right? Pretty soon brands are just going to make weird things so they can do a Supreme collab.
Right. That would be hilarious. All right, moving on from the funky feet to I guess funky feet in a different way. There is an image rotating. How about that? Circulating on the internet of the group Dru Hill. If you don't know who Dru Hill is, go back to your '90s R&B and learn yourself something. They made lots of great music back then. There's one of their most popular songs is "Sleeping in My Bed." And then the leader of that group made a song called Thong Song. So if you haven't heard Thong Song or Sleeping in My Bed, then you have to learn yourself something. So get on Apple Music, Spotify, or Tidal, or whatever it is that you use, and listen to some Dru Hill and get yourself in the mood. But before you do that, take a look at the image that we're going to have a link to down in the description, because they did a photo shoot with Vibe and they are going on. Let's see, R&B veterans players to the group, and they're going to announce They're announcing a new album, and it was on Vibe magazine. But there's a few things wrong with the image, and I'm going to take this one off, and I'm going to pass it over to Nick because I feel like I'm going to get myself in trouble if I start to describe this one. So I'll let you take this one, Nick, because I don't want to say something that I'm going to regret, and then I never get to listen to Dru Hill again, which would be very upsetting to me.
Hey, so you're assuming that I don't want to ever listen to Dru Hill again? I mean... No, it's pretty bad. I mean, I think like it's hard to even look at it without just laughing because it looks like. I mean, I think this is just a situation where the friend of a friend or your brother's cousin's baby mama's, cousin comes in and says they know how to use Photoshop. And they'll make everything cool before it gets done, and it just is not. That's not the case at all. Like you've got one guy with the Jordan 1s on that are clearly like just ridiculously off, both angle, size, color, shade, all of that. And then you've got is that Cisco? Was Cisco his name? Yeah, right, Cisco.
It is Cisco.
Yeah.
Yes, Cisco is the maker of the song Thong Song, and I would appreciate if you remember his name forever.
And he has what appear to be like some Jordan 10s on, but clearly not like authentic because they have like a Jumpman in the middle of the tongue, which that would just not be there normally. But it also just looks ridiculously poorly photoshopped. And then I think even the Air Force One, like what are those? The Special Forces SF Air Force Ones, just look like over the top photoshops. And
are those photoshopped on as well? The Special Force? I didn't even know. Oh my gosh!
It looks like it to me.
This gets better every time I look at it.
Are they? I mean, they don't. They look the best out of all of them.
Yeah, except for the guy with like the dad jeans on. The guy on the end, I don't know his name. The guy, he's got the dad jeans on that cover up basically 75% of the shoe. So he's fine, but everyone else is suspect. And I feel like, I kind of feel like none of them were together for this picture.
Yeah, I think that's
like
the
they
case.
weren't even in the same room.
Yeah.
And they were like, hey, we got to get these faces and put them together. Let's get everyone take a picture wherever you are. Are you at home? You just use your iPhone. Take a picture of yourself.
It's like this podcast.
Yes. But yeah, it's really this is like a Where's Waldo photo where you're like, oh, like the more you look at it, the more stuff you find.
Yeah.
Like there's a double hand almost going on with Cisco. And then the Jordan 1s just look absolutely ridiculous. Yep. That's the first thing I saw. When I looked at the photo, I was like, that is a Photoshop job if I've ever seen one. And I wonder, did they just not come to set with shoes on? Or, were they in socks? Were his shoes dirty? There's so many different stories that can go on here. Was there a brand deal in place? Because it looks like they all have on some sort of Nikes or they're covered up. I think it has to be. It has to be everyone in a different place, right? Because if you look really closely at the arms on the center on Cisco, I won't forget now. On Cisco in the center, thank you.
Both of his arms are terribly photoshopped. Like one of them's in the shadow, but yet he's in front of the guy on his right, and one of them's in the light. And it's clearly it looks like there's two hands and two different sleeves going on. So it's just, I think if anybody can reach out to Dru Hill and let them know that I don't have much Photoshop experience, but I definitely can help with this.
I don't even want to blame it on Dru Hill. I'm blaming this on Vibe. It's Vibe's fault. Whoever Vibe got to Photoshop this. It's honestly, I'm disappointed in you, Vibe. You are a publication that is very well aware of street culture, and for you to put Dru Hill, who made Sleeping in My Bed, and for make Cisco look like he has an alien arm. Do you know he made Thong Song? Do you know he made Thong Song and you gave him an alien hand? Okay. All right. And then just last note here. I don't know what's going on with the guy with the yellow things on his shoes. I don't know what those are or what that is. But I don't know. I'll just leave that at that. And I wasn't even supposed to talk about this because I knew I was going to say things that were going to get me in trouble, and my president of the Dru Hill fan club nomination was going to be rejected. This is just so unfair. Then the Jordan logo is so little. I want you guys, audience, if you're listening, and if we have the image up here, look at that Jordan logo on Cisco's shoes. Like, it's bad. Like, there's nobody believes that that's a Jordan.
I think,
and like you can't even see his back foot.
Yeah.
Look at it. You can't see his back foot. Is he a tightrope walker now? Did he leave art singing and now he's a tightrope walker? And he's been working on his pas de bourrée? Is that what's happening? I don't know.
No, I will say
right.
the yellow the yellows from last summer. That was a Comme des Garçons Air Force One collab that was like that had that like
was
rubber.
it?
Yeah, it had like that weird rubber like toe cap piece. I think there were a couple of them. There was like a black pair, maybe a black pair, and then the white pair had yellow on it or something like that. And it was just like, I forget what the like, it might have been dinosaurs. I think it's dinosaurs. Like the yellow piece
Really?
is designed to be a dinosaur. We'll see if we can find it. Yeah.
And this is why I don't buy luxury stuff. This right here is why the luxury brands look at me and they go, no, let's not even reach out. Don't even email that guy. Don't respond to his tweets, anything. He just no. Yeah, because they know automatically. I'd be like, what is this a shoe? Okay. Honestly, I thought they were ducks. I don't know. Anyway, okay, I'm gonna stop. All right. Moving on to the next topic. So the Adidas. So sneaker releases, and we're going to kind of get into this because of some of your tweets, but Adidas is doing a new policy that hopefully makes it easier for collectors, or I don't even want to say collectors, just for people in general to get shoes. There is an issue with hype sneaker releases. I think everybody knows that. I think the brands are starting to really kind of come around to that. It's just too hard for people to get sneakers these days. And Adidas is changing up. Well, they had their Confirmed app, but it looks like that's going away now. And everything is going to be inside their Adidas app. And today they tweeted out that for the US only at this time, so apologies to the people in the rest of the world, they're introducing a new and improved way to get your hands on our latest exclusive releases. I love that they say exclusive in the statement. Now available via the Adidas app. Then there's a link if you guys click the link, and you have to download and register. You have to activate to get notifications. You have to select your size, and then you have to be there for the release. There's going to be a 15-minute window for the release, and it's going to be tied to your cell phone number, from what I understand. Do you guys think this is going to help at all, or is this just another like fancy marketing speak?
I mean, I think that there's nothing that has the demand that sneakers has outside of like the new iPhone, right? So I think that consumers need to like, don't get me wrong, it's not fun to miss out on something, but the cool thing is there's going to be something cool next week. So if you miss out on something, there's something else coming. But I also think that like to keep in mind that like this is something that's not just about sneakers. This is something that potentially going to drive, all of commerce forward in terms of like how people buy limited edition product. And I think like the nature of everyone recently is to want more and more of that kind of product, and the hard to get stuff and the exclusive stuff and however you want to call it. But I think that this is kind of like, it's cool to see any of these, brands putting any effort into making it better, because at least it shows that they're trying, right? And, I think, you could ask 100 different people what they think is the best way to, improve releases, and you could get, probably 95 different answers. And I think that that's part of the issue is like nobody really knows the perfect way to do it because everybody buys in a different way. Everybody, you know, like tries in different ways. Some people try everything, you know, some people go buy bots. Like, you know, for me personally, like I'm not really into like paying more than what retail is. You know, occasionally there's stuff that I miss out on that I really want and I do pay that, but for the most part it's like, you know, like the normal consumer shouldn't have to go buy a bot. And I think that's what Adidas is trying to do here is like try to make it something where like if you've signed up and given the phone number and they can verify that it's you and you're not trying to buy something through the back door like most of the resellers do, then that's their best foot forward. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think it's complicated, right? Because they don't always know what's going to sell well and what isn't. Like, for example, like the amount of times that I think something's going to be cool that's on sneakers and then I forget about the launch or whatever and then I go back and I see it's still in stock, you know, like right now the black white Volt Legacy, right, that it's in stock, right, so you can get it. So I'm gonna guess that some marketing people thought that was gonna fly off the shelf, right? Same with the all orange JDI collection. Like I bet they thought those were gonna sell out, you know. So I think it's really complex, but I think what I know is that if they made, you know, 100,000 pair of every single shoe, this whole collecting industry would fall apart. It would totally fall apart, I think.
Right.
And there would be so many excess shoes. And then what do they do with them? You know, they can only discount them so much. And even when they discount them, they still have leftover pairs, right? So I think it's complicated. I think how it's working now is okay. Like I don't mind that I always lose, or actually I have a good track record on sneakers. I've won 2 and lost 4. So
hey,
but that's only 6 times.
Wow.
And I'm a small size, right? I'm more rare size. So for me I don't mind it because I don't need to be spending all that money. But at the same time, like it is a shame that someone gets 10 or 15 or 20 or 25 L's in a row. Like, oh my gosh. That's super frustrating. I wish that the systems actually tracked how many pairs you got, how many times you got in, and actually, you know, distributed was a little smarter than they are right now today. But I like that Adidas does the phone, the phone check-in thing. I think there's some other flaws in their plan, but at least it's another plan and somebody's trying something different, right? So the brands are trying to solve this problem. They just haven't come up with a better solution yet.
I think you guys are honestly right. There really probably is no perfect solution. It's a matter of finding like what's going to be the best for the majority. Like what can they do that really helps, you know, the largest part of the population. And unfortunately, that may mean that some of us will miss out. It's a tough thing. I know I get super frustrated myself. A lot of people assume just because I make the YouTube videos that I get everything, but I don't. And there's plenty of things that I want that I'm not able to get just because they sell out or I'm not able to get one. Like I've literally never won a Nike draw. So for all of the hot releases that have come out, I've entered all, you know, I would say pretty much most of them, and I'm like 20-0 when it comes to the Nike draw. My odds are a little bit better when I'm waiting in line. I've won a couple of those, but as far as the draw goes, I'm 0 for whatever it is. So it's super frustrating for me, but at the same time, I'm like, maybe I don't need it. You know, I try to take some solace in the fact that, you know, maybe this wasn't a shoe for me. Maybe this just wasn't the shoe that I needed to get.
Yeah,
but then I also get angry.
Me too. But I think the other thing, like you pointed out in the beginning there, is like, you know, it's not easy for. I would say that we're like, you know, kind of the 20% in that consumer that buys these kind of hyped up products, right, from Adidas or Nike or whatever brand, and that like. Just for us to like, you know, we're all on the West Coast, so that means 7:00 we've got to be up and on the app to try and buy something, which is just not like a consumer friendly thing to do, right? Like, so Adidas trying to kind of give this 15-minute window for you ahead of time. So like you're checking in, you're saying I'm interested in this product, and then you have a 15-minute window to buy. that actually is a little bit easier than be on at 7 o'clock when everyone else that's into sneakers is on at 7 o'clock to try to get this. So, I mean, I do think that like it's a, you know, like Tiffany said, there's flaws in it, but it's definitely like a step in the right direction to kind of level the playing field, if you will, to give everybody kind of a more realistic shot at it, as opposed to, you know, kind of the way that they were before. Because, you know, especially with Adidas, because the Confirmed app was always location based. So if you weren't in New York or Chicago and occasionally LA, you just didn't have an option to get shoes from them. So unless you know, went to adidas.com and, you know, like just going straight to the site is just not an easy way to buy product for anything that's actually hyped or exclusive or limited or whatever. So
it makes sense. I guess, you know, as a sneaker guy, you always want to be like, I want it, you know, especially when you're passionate about something, you want to be able to have access to it. But and part of it also though is the hunt. You know, I think the hunt has been lost in our digital world of being able to like look for something and finally find something. And it's a matter of just really having some patience, I think, in this world as well, as opposed to always being like, I want it now. Why don't I have it now? It's just us having some patience and being like, I'll get it later. And oftentimes I find myself going, I really, really want that at that moment. And then 2 weeks later, I haven't thought about the shoe. And I'm like, well, maybe I didn't really want that. Maybe I was just kind of caught up in the hype. So that's part of it as well. So we'll see. But the app is available right now through iOS or Google Play Store or whatever it is you have, or I don't think it's on Windows if you still have a Windows phone, which is probably another conversation. But you get to pre-select your size, and for each drop you have a 15-minute window, and it's confirmed by your phone number. So go ahead and download that if you haven't already. But this leads to one of your tweets. We got a tweet from, and forgive me if I'm saying your name wrong, Yudo Nomi. I don't know if that's saying you don't know me, or if your name is Yudo Nomi and I just made fun of your name, and if I did, well, I apologize. Your tweet was, would love our take on how difficult it is for normal folks to get access to anticipated releases without the assistance of monitors, bots, cook groups, etc. So I don't know what a cook group is, first of all, and I don't know what a monitor is either. I know what bots are. Nick, do you know what monitors are? Tiffany, do you know what a monitors are, or cook groups?
Yeah, so monitor is like a page monitor. You set it up basically in
okay. So I do know what that is. Yes, okay, I do know what that is. But what's a cook group?
It's like a Slack channel that people are sharing information, or a group through Instagram DM that they're sharing information so they can help others get product.
Interesting. All right. So I guess to answer your question, Yudo, I really feel like you're trolling us with that name, but maybe you're not. Gosh, and that's so rude. I understand your frustration, as even again, people assume that I have access to way more than I do, but we all go through the same things. I've never used a bot. I've never used a monitor. I've never used a cook group. So I know definitely how difficult it is to get sneakers, and it's challenging, and it's super frustrating, and it makes me angry, and I get mad about it, and I tweet about it. I tweet about it often because I often don't get anything. So you often see me tweeting, but I think, it's a matter of like kind of what I said earlier, of having that patience and seeing if this is something that you really want, and if not, just kind of holding out and seeing how the prices go, seeing if, obviously right at that release, the prices are going to be crazy. But oftentimes when you wait, those prices often drop pretty drastically for a lot of those shoes, and you really don't end up paying that much over retail. Not that you want to pay over retail at all, but, oftentimes you have the opportunity to just kind of hold out. Now, Tiffany, you're new to our sneaker world in this way, where you have to really like worry about the high heat releases because you don't have your Nike Connect anymore. What would be your take or your response to Yudo?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm definitely too new, and also working in the sneaker industry first, and knowing, like, being part of, the Nike Mag and stuff, super limited launches. I don't think I'm ever going to have a perspective that's super valuable on this because I really just don't understand it, you know? So I think that it should be easier. And I do believe the brands are working to make it easier and more available. But it also makes me think of a quote from Oprah. And I know we don't talk about Oprah much on this show, so why not? But
which we should do more of.
We should, but she said at one point, nothing in your life is happening out of order. Nothing. So it's like, even if you don't get that shoe and you loved it so much, imagine in, 15 years later, and your son, who is, like 6 years old or something, somehow gets a pair of those shoes. Like, what an amazing story. Or imagine a couple years later and you happen upon that shoe, or you have a story, or
right.
I'm trying to spin it, and it's not spinning so good.
No. I think no, but I think you're putting things into perspective. Like, there may be a moment we want it now, but we'll get it when we're supposed to have it. And I do firmly believe that, despite my frustrations and my lack of faith in certain situations, things happen when they are supposed to. And it may be down the line, like you said, when you're an adult or when you're a lot older, and that your kid hears you tell the story of how you used to not be able to get these shoes and you really wanted a pair, but they were too expensive on the resale market, and it pops up for your 42nd birthday or whatever birthday, and your kid gets them for you, and that's a moment that's going to be, and that's going to mean a lot more to you than it would have been if you would have just got them off the sneakers that day. So I love that perspective. That's really a great way to look at it. Thank you, Tiffany.
Well, I mean, you're welcome. But if it's not like it's food. It's not like it's a medical something that you absolutely need, right? And there are people every single day, way too many people that are living without things that they absolutely need. So, like, you missed a sneaker launch, you've missed 20 of them, but you still have plenty of shoes, right? Like, you still have shoes you love. So celebrate those.
Yeah. And I
like,
think
maybe we could start that. Like, every time you get an L, you post your favorite shoe picture that you have. Like, what pair of shoes are you most grateful for? Like, instead of posting the L and spreading the negative energy, like, let's post the one we love the most. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I like that.
I like that.
I think too, like, the other thing about it is, like, for me, like, this whole journey through sneakers and with sneakers in my life has just, like, introduced me to people that I just enjoy being around, and really good friends, just because it started with sneakers. And that's another thing that I think, like, to really break it down, like, there's been times where, like, I've had people help me get a shoe because they knew I really wanted it, and not that I even asked for it, just that they knew that was a shoe that I was into, and they got it, and and got it in my size for me, or connected me to someone that could sell it to me for retail. And I think those are the kind of things where, like, instead of looking at it as a negative, look at it as, like, okay, how do I make more friends, like, get more involved in whatever sneaker con or whatever events are around you, so you can introduce yourself to other people that are into sneakers. And because, like, I think, like, this podcast is a great example of that, right? Like, we just started talking, and, like, I think we've had some really good conversations that have come from it that are really nothing really about missing out on sneakers, but that could be something that you take that kind of thought process and just change it into a positive, and say, like, okay, like, this is, I'm going to go down this path of, like, meeting more people and getting more involved and seeing what else I can do in this kind of business and industry and community to make it more enjoyable, regardless of what shoes I actually get, or what shoes I'm actually wearing, or what shoes I have.
No, I met some of my best friends in sneakers, so I believe that wholeheartedly. All right. Transition a little bit here, because I'm the master of the awkward transition, if you guys don't know already. Today, Virgil released a new collaboration for Serena Williams. Now, I'll say this from a male's perspective. I saw this collection and I was like, oh, that's cool, that's dope. Cool that he's doing, like, performance wear as well. But there was a little conversation about this online today, But before we get into that, I'll kind of throw this over to you, Tiffany, about Virgil and like being able to collaborate outside of like that 10. What as a designer, is this something that you encourage, or is this something where you kind of feel like he's getting out of his league?
I guess I don't understand the collab. Like I'm looking at it and I just don't. I mean, I think it's okay to have a collab in a performance way. I mean, that's basically what happens with athletes, and to have like someone that's not an athlete but a designer or an entertainer or something to collab on a performance shoe with an athlete. I mean, that's like the perfect triangle, right? Like that you have the entertainer side, you have the streetwear side, the performance side. Like, to me, that's like a perfect kind of way to go about it. But in this particular one, I just don't get it. And I think they're trying to bring in Serena Williams, right? Like they should be. She's a phenomenal athlete. And they're trying to, go at the women's side a bit more, but ugh. I don't have words. I mean, I like the socks better. Like, I like how they're rocking the socks. Like, you don't see girls rocking socks like that. And I'm thinking, oh, I might integrate that in. Not the shoes, though. Interesting.
Nick, your thoughts?
I mean, I think that looking at it from, like, the perspective of, they've always tried to, like, do, I don't know if crazy is the right thing, but just, like, bold statement pieces for the U.S. Open, and I think that that's what this is for, right? And it just kind of follows along, but it's, I don't know, like I guess like for me, the whole Virgil thing just feels so forced at this point, because it's like, cool, like we'll just throw Virgil on it and it'll sell, and I mean, I hope that it's more than that, and like, if Serena was involved from the get-go and like she's all about this, then that's awesome. But it just doesn't feel that way. It's kind of like the last, conversation about the Vogue collab, where it just feels like super forced, and I feel like they could do better. And that's, maybe high expectations for myself, but also like, Nike's like, kind of been the best at this for a long time. And I feel like they've kind of fallen off in terms of like really getting to the like authenticity and the really great stories that they've told over the years. And now it's just become like, right, cool, like we met Virgil in Paris and he threw an X and a quote swoosh or quote logo or quote something on the shoe and the dress, and now it's a collab, and now we're gonna put it out. So I don't know, it's not as exciting, it's not that exciting for me. It's kind of like I kind of feel like they could have done better.
Yeah, I take that same perspective with this. I feel like this doesn't feel like a true integration, I guess, as opposed to just like Virgil doing what he's always kind of done with what I shouldn't say always, what he's done already with Nike. This doesn't feel like an integration that was like, oh, I'm going to approach this in a different way to do something for Serena. This just feels, I guess more like what you said. It was like, oh, this is what Virgil does, so let's just do that same exact thing, but attach Serena to it, as opposed to seeing it through a different lens. I wish this was seen through a different or a more focused lens that made it unique to her, as opposed to making it general off-white-ish, I guess, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it feels forced. It doesn't feel connected to her. She's not even the model in the photographs. Like, why is that? But, I mean, if you're going to do something connected to Serena right now in tennis, you're going to involve, not Virgil, you're going to involve, like, some sort of mother brand, right? Like, some sort of, I just had a baby and I'm competing professionally, like you're, it's not going to appeal to people, right? It'll appeal to mothers that are athletes for sure, but it still feels like Nike's trying to make this appeal to sneakerheads and the sneaker community, and it, in no way, shape, or form, I think it should be. Like I just think they're off on all the marks, and I definitely don't have the answer. But again, that's two kind of crappy female collabs.
Yeah. So, on another note, regarding this same collab, I have a friend, Jazare. I don't know if you guys know who she is. She was very, I don't say she was upset, but she took, she was bothered, I'll say that, by the collection in general. And it was from the perspective of she generally feels like Nike does a lot of the kind of just pink and glitter to say it's a woman's collab. And as a man, I guess I don't know really where to step in with that. Because that's not something like I obviously don't wear pink or purple, but I know women that do. But she feels more that it's just like this is what you guys always do for women. You just make it pink or you make it purple, and then just feel like, okay, that's something for women. And she doesn't feel like, I guess it's doing enough.
Yeah, I don't disagree with her. I do know her from Instagram and the Sneakers book, and I think they did do the all gray colorway, and I think that's there testing the waters to see, okay, if we don't put pink or purple, do women even talk about this? Versus, I agree that I don't like the pink and purple. It's a little bit unicorn. I don't know. I think of unicorns when I see some of these colorways. So,
right.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I don't have much more to say about it.
I mean, I think too, like it's kind of odd to me that it's Virgil. It's like there's got to be other females that are doing creative work in fashion, in footwear, in apparel that would love to work with Serena to create something unique that actually resonates with the consumer, right? How
about Vogue?
Yeah.
How about Anna Wintour? Now that would make more sense.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know. It's definitely odd.
Yeah. So
I'm trying to think of an example where it would be the same thing done to guys. Like if it's always in baby blue. Like say every model you guys ever buy but they'll say it's Carolina blue and then it's cool. There's not really another example where it's always made for the male gender and colors represent it so strongly, which is kind of interesting, right? Like that's where the athletic socks being pulled up like that, like that's definitely not, like that is more associated with male athletes, I think, than female. And that's where I think I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's really it's interesting. Like Jazz, this is, I guess her original tweet was, if you listen to any interview of any female sneaker professional, influencer, designer over the past 10 years, you will hear her ask these brands to stop delivering glitter, purple, and pink. And which means that, and this is her again saying, one, these brands aren't tuned in to what they're saying, or two, these brands don't give a F. So just putting that out there. And then she also tweeted someone who said that the new Serena stuff looks like a base lure when you go fishing. And I'm going to leave it at that.
That is so good.
So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the Outside the Box podcast. I am Jacques Slade, Kustoo. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, all under that name. But again, this show would not be what it is without Nick and without Tiffany. They bring the weight, they bring the heat, they bring the knowledge, and I just bring the headlines. They are the editor at the newspaper, and I am the intern going to get coffee. So with that being said, Nick, tell them where. I said newspaper. People are going to be like, "What's a newspaper?" Nick,
no, they know what it is because of the New York Post Supreme newspaper, right? Now,
that's true.
People are taking pictures of
Supreme New York Post.
We made a newspaper digital, and now it's cool again. So.
Oh, goodness gracious. With that being said, I'm going to pass this off to Nick. Let them know where they can find me.
You can find me at Nick Engvall on all platforms and at Sneaker History. But really, going back to that base lure or the fishing lure reference, I'm just kind of like the the fishing line here, and Tiffany's like really the reason we're here. So Tiffany, let them know how they can find you.
These analogies, guys. Tiffany Beers, you can find me on YouTube or on Instagram. I think I heard Jacques was on Tinder, something about that. But
that true.
I digress. Yeah. That's it. I'm not part of the fishing community. I don't want to offend them, right? Like, I'm not knowledgeable enough.
That is hilarious. All right. Well, thank you guys for listening. Again, you can find us at the Outside the Pods on Twitter and on Instagram if you want to hit us there. Again, feel free to leave us a message. Feel free to respond. Feel free to leave feedback. We're open to all of that because it just makes this show better, which makes you enjoy it even more, which is really what this is all about, providing you some entertainment and some knowledge mixed in with the great Tiffany Beers. With that being said, guys, we appreciate you, and we'll see you guys all soon. Peace.